In this video, I'm going to show you an easy method for making your own interlocking shiplap. Now, not only will making this out of plywood save you a lot of money, but it also means my substrate is now dimensionally stable, so I can add a lot of elements to built-ins without worrying about wood movement down the road. For this project, I'm using 1/2-inch birch veneer cabinet grade ply. It's going to be a smoother grade of ply, a lot less sanding, a nicer finished piece. This really is about as easy as it gets. All I'm going to do is rip these two sheets down to all of my sizes, which is going to be 5/4, and put 2 rabbets on each board. That's really all there is to it. It took me about an hour to do this, which is faster than it would have taken me to go to the store and buy Shiplap, and it was about half the price because I did estimate the customer for plywood made and store-bought Shiplap. Then on my first side, I'm going to put a rabbet on all of my boards. That's 5/8 of an inch. So it's just a simple rabbet, 5/8 of an inch, about halfway down the board. Now I could go on the opposite edge, opposite face, and put a 1/2-inch rabbet. So where my thumb's pointing is where the 1/2-inch rabbet's going to go. All I'm doing is moving my fence over 1/8 of an inch, and then I could send all of my boards through and put that opposing rabbet on that side. That's going to make it, when I put all my pieces together, I'm going to get a perfect 1/8 inch reveal, which mimics shiplap. So that is the basic gist of this. You can see what that rabbet joint looks like from the back view. Really simple. Like I said, took me about an hour to make all of these, and I get free delivery on that ply. So once you have the board, you can see the 5/8 inch rabbet, the 1/2-inch rabbet, and when I slide them together, the difference in those sizes offsets and gives you that 1/8 inch reveal, so you don't have to worry about spacing as you're putting all this together. It's created for you. Now, I ordered a bunch of plywood for this project because there's all inner components to it, and it was pre-finished ply. I decided to get pre-finished for the shiplap because, like I said, it was free delivery, so I did have to go through and sand that off before I could put primer on it. But if you are doing this, you can buy unpre-finished ply and save yourself some time. But that is basically how those boards fit together. I've never really worked with shiplap before, but I've seen people go through and pre-prime the edges. I'm sure that's helpful, but honestly, because I have a sprayer, I do think that was kind of a wasted step. But once I had these pre-primed, I could go through and start my first layer. The first layer is going to be the most important layer. Any mistakes that you make in this first layer are going to be compounded on each consecutive layer, and then eventually you're going to have problems. So it's worth it to really level and get this layer accurate before continuing, especially since my first layer, I have to start my cutouts for my true 2 drawer boxes that are on the bottom. Because this is plywood, the beauty of this is I really don't have to worry about seasonal changes in humidity because plywood is dimensionally stable. This lumber isn't going to move on me like solid wood. So I could have tight joints on all of my shiplap. I could do really tight reveals on these drawer boxes on the bottom without having to worry about them binding in the summertime when the humidity rises. So that is another huge bonus to making these out of ply. Besides the fact, especially if you're making it for yourself, it saves a ton of money. So I'm just using an oscillating tool in order to cut these out. I had marked on the inside where my rough cuts had to be, and then I could use a straight edge like a piece of ply clamped to there with the oscillating tool riding along it to get a perfect cut. And then I could just check and make sure my side's going to line up with my front. Those top edges have to be perfect. If they're even a little off by the 3rd or the 4th piece, everything's going to be off. And then my big side pullouts that are on both sides, I did the math before I did this, and I made it so that that first layer of shiplap, which is permanently attached to my frame around the entire bottom, is underneath where those pullouts are going to be, so I didn't have to do any cuts. Once all of that was looking like it was going to line up, I can go through and add the second piece in the front. So I'm just going to line it up with the bottom, mark the sides with a square, and then the height from the inside of the frame. An exact same process. I can cut these pieces out. I'm going to save them and then use them for the drawer fronts later. So the front is one continuous pattern with that groove for the shiplap. Could pop that piece out, and then you could see this one's now going to fit in place, and that is how that looks like. Fortunately, the hardest part of this was the beginning because I had to make all these cuts for the pullouts, and I did spend a lot of time making sure those first three pieces, the two on the side and the one in the front, were perfectly level before continuing. It's really worth it. And then once I had those two in the front, I could start on my sides. Like I said, these are permanently attached, going through and leveling them. And then I could attach those using 1/4-inch brads to attach all of these pieces, making sure everything lines up nicely. And then, like I said, now this front portion technically can come apart, but I think I'll be able to carry this as one piece, and that is why I attached it to the front and the where the raised mantle is. And then I could pop that second one in place as well. So that is basically what that looks like. Going forward, now all of my pieces on the sides are only going to be attached to this pullout. I'm going to continuously make sure that pullout is still functioning. For this piece, obviously I have to cut it because that's going to be where the raised mantle is, so I could just mark my edge on the back, rip it on the table saw. I turned off the camera when I was ripping it by accident, so you just see the aftermath of that cut. I could put one of those pieces on the front, and then the second piece I'll save for working my way up in the back where the fireplace is. So that will fit nicely in place. Any sort of cut I'm doing on the table saw, I'm cutting them close to my line, like 1/8 of an inch close to my line, and then I could take a flush trim bit in my router, which has a ball bearing which will ride on the front edge of all of that lumber, and it will make it so that everything's perfect. I can mock my sides in place, make sure my side's going to match with the piece in the back because we still have to be aligned the whole way. I can mark a little L that needs to be cut out and take it to the radial arm saw, notch it out but not all the way through because I don't want the saw marks in the front of my boards. Just use a hand saw to finish it up. And that's the first three pieces, and like I said, the first three pieces were the hardest ones. After this it was pretty quick work. And then that's how that looks on the side. Once again, only attaching them to the pullout at this point. And same thing on the other side, can mark where that's going to be. Here's the flush cut router bit. So like I said, that ball bearing will ride on the frame because since these need to slide out, it's really important that none of the frame is proud, because when the raised mantle sits on there, I don't want the slide out to rub on it. Now because I lost about 1/8 of an inch because of the kerf cut on the saw blade, I'm just using 1/8 inch spacer under this piece in the back so that I get it lined up with my two edges, which are already in place. And then I can just kind of check and work my way up on the side. I worked on the sides and the front at the same time so I can make sure that I'm staying perfectly aligned the whole way. And then I'm going to go through this part a little quicker because my camera was out of focus at this point, but anywhere I have an opening, so this bottom opening is where a fireplace is going, I'm marking that inside edge, rough cutting it on the table saw, and then trimming it with the router bit. My frame turned out very square, very symmetrical, so now I could just cut planks and work my way up. For the front where I'm working now, they're flush with the edge of the frame, and then on the side those pieces overlay. I did that once again because of the pullouts. I don't have to worry about them fitting in between the edges of the front, they just sit on top of it. Once I got to the top side of the fireplace, same process. I can mark roughly where that cutout needs to be, cut a straight edge on the table saw, trim it out with a saw, and then the entire perimeter of the fireplace, I'll use that trim bit in order to get it perfect.
and that how that worked. You could see, like I said, these ones are overlaying the edge of the front ones so they could pull straight out. They don't nestle inside of it. That was the design for that. And there's going to be a corner on those, you won't see any of it. Because I have to transport this is coming apart in 2 pieces. I just pointed out where that seam is. So this piece is only getting attached to one part of the frame, so those 2 frames will still be able to come apart. This upper opening is going to be where the TV mount is. The TV itself will actually overlay quite a large portion of the upper part of the media wall, but the inside cove there is where all the electronics are going to be. And same thing, you could see it's really quick work at this point, just laying one on top of the other. I don't have to worry about spacing, it's all space. And 3/4 of the way up, all of my edges were still staying aligned. For the top, in order for the pull-out to work, I actually had to rip the rabbet off, which will create a little bit of a gap, but because it's about almost 8 feet up in the air from the ground, you cannot see it. But that's how I had to do it in order for that pull-out to work at the top. So I just used an 1/8 inch spacer. You can see there's no rabbet on that bottom one, and if you're up high enough, you can see that gap, and that is how I went to the top. Now this is paint grade, obviously, so all of those brad holes are really easy to fill, which makes life a lot easier. And then for the cabinet, the drawer fronts, like I said, I saved my 2 pieces. I can glue them together, and then I could pop them right on the drawer fronts. I did have a little bit of sanding to do on these, and I also added a 45-degree chamfer to the back side, just so that if there's any undulations in my cut, if that oscillating bit wasn't a perfect 90 degrees, that chamfer will help not hit any snags on coming in and out of the drawer box. This is push to open hardware, so you could see the minimal reveal will help keep those drawer fronts hidden. And then once I have them shimmed in place, I could once again just attach them with a series of brads to that drawer box. And these have been installed for a little over a week. They're still working perfectly, and it's changing from low humidity winter to more high humidity spring around me, and everything's still working nicely. I use molding to cover up the edges. This corner molding is pretty expensive for what it is, but it's going to hide all of my seams. I could put glue on the edge that's going to pull out so it's permanently attached to that side. I did about 3 brads, made sure it was still going to open and close with that door, and then I could go through and sink brads in every layer going down the piece, just making sure that that opens. In the front, there's about a 1/16 inch of a gap because you don't want it to bind, but you're really going to need, your tolerance is not too tight on stuff that needs to move. For this front edge, once again, I'm not permanently attaching it to the bottom piece, just those 2 top ones, and I'm leaving it long because I have to level this in the space. I don't know exactly where the molding is going to lay, so I'll trim that down in the space. Same goes for the top where there's going to be some sort of crown. And then just a flat lattice trim in between my 2 angled pieces in order to finish off that edge, make it a little more cohesive. And this still works. Everything opens and closes. It's been working pretty seamlessly since I installed them, so I'm pretty happy about that. To finish up the TV compartment, I just put regular plywood on the inside because, like I said, when the TV's in the front, you'll never see it. And then all I had to do to finish off the edge was create a little notch in my corner molding. This is a 7/8 of an inch corner molding, so it's a little bit wider than some of the other pieces you can get, which I liked. I didn't have to worry about any of the ply showing through with the thinner corner molding. And I can just mark where that notch is going to lay on my frame, cut my length, and then remove the notches on the table saw. It's going to give me a nice perfect cut on that inner edge, and then I could just use a hand saw to remove the rest of it. And that's how I dealt with doing it on the side instead of worrying about some sort of fancy miters or connections like that. And once again, once this is all set in place, I could patch any of the gaps in this. This stuff is actually going to come apart, so I could transport it, but I wanted to dry fit it. And then for the piece on the bottom, it's just a straight piece because I already did the other parts. It's hard to get a great view of this in my smaller shop, but this is what it looks like at the moment. And next week's video we'll be showing you how I made the wooden components, mostly the mantle.